welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 340 for the 26th of April 2015. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. Oh boy, yesterday evening, Jo Alabaster and I were about to set off and see comedian and skeptic Robin Ince, who was performing his stand-up show here in Sydney. So we caught the bus and took a long time to get there because the roads and the sidewalks, the footpaths, the pavements, the roofs of houses were covered in hail. Wow, massive hailstorm swept in over Sydney last night. I haven't seen the streets quite like it. But enough of the weather report. What's happening this week on the Skeptic Zone? I chat to Maureen Chuck. Maureen Chuck was in the federal court last week to hear the next development in the ongoing case of Fran Sheffield and Homeopathy Plus. You may remember that late last year there was a court finding in the federal court against Homeopathy Plus. They had on their website that the pertussis whooping cough vaccination was not to be trusted, words to that effect, and you could use homeopathy instead. Oh dear. Well, a few days ago, the next chapter in this story was unfolding in court. Maureen Chuck will report on that. She was right there on the spot and find out what's happening with the penalties, the possible penalties against Homeopathy Plus. Yes, you should be very careful if you put things on your website that are outrageously outrageous and really likely to cause harm. Now, if you suggest that magic sugar water can help protect against deadly diseases like whooping cough, then, well, quite frankly, you deserve everything you get. We'll find out more coming up at the top of the show. And after that, a week in science from our good friends at the Royal Institution of Australia. Hello, Royal Institution of Australia in the beautiful city of Adelaide. And to round off the show, it's the return of the think tank. Now, we haven't had a think tank for a really long time, well over a year. Jo Alabaster and Jason Brown join me in our club down the end of the street for a think tank. We're going to be discussing the upcoming Skepticamp here in Sydney, the convention in Brisbane a little later on in the year, the sad story of the a wellness blogger, Belle Gibson, and more about that, my recent appearance on television, and the Russian version of the Vaccination Chronicles video. And stay tuned to the very end of the show. I'll be giving some news about a little competition. We're giving away a book. Giving away a book from New Scientist Question Everything. This is a book Maynard reviewed a few weeks ago on the Skeptic Zone. Best-selling New Scientist series, over 2 million copies sold, it says. 132 science questions and their unexpected answers. So we have there it is, the book itself. We have a book giveaway. More details how to enter that competition coming up at the end of the show, thanks to Maynard. But now it's time for me to run downstairs, open the fridge, find a nice, crispy Granny Smith apple. Why not be healthy for a change? Yes, well, I try. Granny Smith apple. Well, I'm munching on that. I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Now, as mentioned at the top of the show, there has been some more developments in the case of Homeopathy Plus. Homeopathy Plus, you may remember a couple of weeks ago on the Skeptic Zone we covered this. The ACCC here in Australia took them to court over claims they were making concerning homeopathic vaccination and the ineffectiveness, in their view, of the whooping cough vaccination. In court just the other day, the 22nd of April, was none other than Maureen Chuck, who joins me on the line now. Hello, Maureen.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Now, this is an interesting development in the ongoing saga of the Homeopathy Plus. Just to give our audience a refresher, what was all this about?
Well, it started back in 2011 with Professor Ken Harvey, who I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Oh, yes.
he put in a complaint to the Therapeutic Goods and Administration, the TGA, about Fran Sheffield from Homeopathy Plus advertising homeoprophylaxis for pertussis and making claims that, had no basis in any evidence. And that was found, and the TGA asked her to put a retraction on her website, and she refused. So then the ACCC took it up in 2013, and they asked her to remove the offending article from her website, and she took it off, and then she put it back on a couple of months later in a slightly amended form,
yes,
but amended for her benefit, not really for the purposes of the complaint. So the ACCC went back to her again and asked her to remove it again, and they also put an injunction on her to put another retraction on there, to take the articles away, and there were a couple of other things that I can't remember. Anyway, she refused to comply with anything. And she posted on her website that she couldn't comply because she firmly believed in what she was doing.
And we are of that opinion too, that she absolutely and totally believes in the benefit and the efficacy of homeopathy.
Well, yes, but it's funny that you mention that, Richard, because in court on Wednesday, one of the factors that they were considering when arguing what the penalty should be was the fact that Miss Sheffield is in financial difficulties, and they are likely to get worse because she is suffering from ill health.
Oh.
How much conviction she has
yes,
for homeopathy for her own health.
There you go. Of course, we don't wish her any ill health at all. Of course not. But yes, you do make an interesting point. So the whole purpose of the day in court was so that Justice Perry could consider some options in regards to penalties.
Yes, so she had to listen to what the ACCC had to say and what Homeopathy Plus's barrister had to say. Now, the Homeopathy Plus barrister, Mr. White, he conceded that what the ACCC was asking for, which was $62,500 for Homeopathy Plus penalty and $12,500 for Fran Sheffield herself, so a total of $75,000. So he conceded that that was very much on the low side, and the ACCC said that they had taken into consideration her financial problems.
Right.
And that's why they were judging it on the low side. But he then tried to argue for no financial penalty at all.
Wow.
And some of the arguments he used to support that were things like, the public shame that's been brought on her by this court case, and, the fact that it's been in the press, and the press has been quite scathing of her, and, the judgment itself. And, when he started to sort of talk about the public shame of being found guilty of this offence, the judge took umbrage at that, and she said, look, the court process is a matter of public record, and there's good reason for that.
Yeah.
And she didn't actually say that, this could have all been avoided, but she said this, it goes hand in hand with engaging in litigation.
I think that's absolutely right. It's a very open and public process, as it should be.
Yes.
And, I mean, you could almost argue the opposite in a strange sort of way, because the notoriety she's got during this whole process is to her own supporters have bolstered her ranks, the esteem she's held in, because she's seen as someone out there fighting the system, or possibly now even a martyr or something like that. So it's an interesting line of argument.
Yes. Well, that was just one of his arguments. another argument that he used to say that she shouldn't have to pay anything is that nobody really believes anything that's on her website anyway.
What? Hang on, let me rewind that. Hang on.
Yes.
Who was putting that argument again?
This is Mr. Marcel White, her barrister.
Her barrister was putting that point of view.
Yes, and funnily enough, this is the same guy who represented Meryl Dorey and the Australian Vaccination Skeptics Network when they were appealing against their name change. He argued then that they were so notorious that they didn't need to change their name because everybody knew they were really anti-vaccination.
Good heavens, yes.
Yeah, so he seems to have a limited repertoire.
Well, I guess he's right. In one respect, there is a certain percentage of the population who does not believe for one moment the stuff that she puts on her website. We're talking about Fran Sheffield and Homeopathy Plus. But I think to the general, the wider community out there, it was certainly, it was seen to be, what should we say, misleading.
Yes, and that's why the complaint was made, because she was comparing, homeoprophylaxis, which is, for pertussis, and saying it was as effective, if not more, than the pertussis vaccine.
Yeah.
So that's a big claim.
Now, I was with you and some other skeptics. When was it now? December or something like that.
Yes,
when
yes.
The original finding was handed down. And you were in court the other day, and who else was there?
The ACCC barrister and two staff from the ACCC and myself. And on the other side, there was Mr. Marcel White, her barrister, Fran Sheffield and her daughter.
I think, yes, I seem to remember Fran Sheffield and her daughter were there when you and I were there some months ago for the first thing.
Yes.
All right, that's interesting. Well, I'm not surprised they were there. What now? What is the next course of action?
The decision has been reserved, and there's no date. One thing that the judge has given Mr. White 7 days to submit some more supporting evidence for some of his submission.
Right.
And I think what might be part of that is the judge was quite annoyed with Fran Sheffield herself about the affidavit that she put in and her claims of financial difficulties, because she just really didn't put enough supporting evidence that she actually is in financial difficulties. She said, I have a statement of liabilities and a statement of assets. She said, but I have nothing about income. She said, not even a bank statement. You could see she was extremely frustrated with this, I think, continuing evasion.
Yeah, maybe it was a homeopathic bank statement. Who knows?
Yes, maybe it was.
Who knows?
But also the judge made mention a number of times, and I think this is pretty important, about the language used in Fran Sheffield's affidavit, and by that I don't mean foul language.
No, of course not.
I mean, and the judge hinted that there was an element of defiance.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Once again, we get back to the fact that you and I, and I think everybody who's aware of this case, is of the opinion that she is a true believer. And absolutely, I would expect her to be defiant. She's defending what she thinks is right.
Yes. And she also said that she doesn't seem to comprehend the gravity of these findings and that there's a complete lack of contrition on her part.
Interesting.
And I kind of felt that the judge thought that what the ACCC was asking for was probably not enough.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion, just the frustration that I saw from the judge, and Fran's barrister said something like, this was another supporting argument for why she shouldn't have to pay anything, was that it was just a mum and dad corner store. And the judge said back to him, yes, with an online store that has 12,000 subscribers. So she's firmly of the view that, this is a business. She was making money from this, and there should be a financial penalty, even though she didn't quite say that.
Yes, indeed, because I'm on the mailing list of Homeopathy Plus, and I think quite a few people are, to see what's happening. And I think just about every week there's a newsletter from them, which with links to various so-called studies which promote homeopathy. And then there's normally a day or two later or the next day a follow-up email with a special offer selling some magic potion or something like that. Yes.
So it is, yes. I mean, it's a business, and as the judge said, if she's not willing to supply the supporting evidence for her alleged financial difficulties, the judge said she can only rule on the evidence that she has, and if she doesn't provide evidence, she will rule on the basis that she doesn't have financial difficulties.
All right. Well, great. Maureen Chuck, thank you very much for your court report, we might say, with the ongoing story of Homeopathy Plus and their misadventures. We will now await the next development.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Richard.
AstronomyCast takes a facts-based journey through the cosmos as it offers listeners weekly discussions on astronomical topics ranging from planets to cosmology. Hosted by Fraser Kane of Universe Today and myself, Dr. Pamela Gay of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, this show brings the questions of an avid astronomy lover directly to an astronomer. Together, Fraser and I explore what is known and being discovered about the universe around us. Join us each week as we take a facts-based journey through the cosmos at astronomycast.com.
Welcome to A Week in Science from RiAus, bringing you the science you need to know. Red, green, blue. About 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women can't see at least one of these colours. Why is that? What is colour blindness? So why can't people see these colours? Well, it's thanks to colour perception cells in the eye called cone cells. There are 3 types of cone cells, and although they're referred to as blue, green and red, it's a bit more accurate to describe them by their absorbance of light wavelengths, short, medium and long. Someone who is colourblind might not have one particular type of cone cell in their retina, or one particular type is weak. This could mean they can't perceive certain wavelengths of light. Or there could be something preventing the signals from these cone cells reaching the brain. There are different reasons for this colour blindness. Most common is genetic, passed on from the mother, but it can also be caused by diabetes, multiple sclerosis or ageing. The 3 types of colour blindness are called deuteranomaly, which is reduced sensitivity to green light and is the most common form, protanomaly, which is a reduced sensitivity to red light, and tritanomaly, which is a reduced sensitivity to blue light. This type is extremely rare. Because the cone cells don't pick up a single colour, but instead a range of wavelengths, it means that any type of colour blindness actually affects the perception of most colours. For example, someone with reduced red sensitivity might not be able to see the difference between blue and purple, as they can't perceive the red component in the purple colour. And now, let's look at 4 colourful fast facts. In the average human retina, there's around 6 million cone cells. Around 64% are long wavelength cones, 32% medium cones, and 2% short cones. Although yellow is a single wavelength in the light spectrum, in the eye, both red and green cones are firing. These signals are recombined in the brain, so deficiency of one cone cell type may cause dull yellows. Cone cells work in bright light. When you pass into a darkened room, your rod cells take over, but only build sensitivity slowly. The way your brain processes colours can be tricked by the surrounding colours. For example, the famous blue dress photo. That's it for This Week in Science. For more information on our eyes and colour, go to the RiAus website, riaus.org.au. Follow us on Twitter at RiAus and like us on Facebook. I'm Tania Meyer and we'll catch you next week.
Hej svenska skeptiker! Du vet väl att vetenskap och folkbildning inte bara är trogna anhängare av The Skeptic Zone utan också arrangerar föredrag, pop-science-quiz och skeptikerträffar runt om i Sverige. Gå in på www.vof.se för att spana in vad våra 7 olika lokalföreningar runt om i landet har på gång. Och om du bor i en stad där det inte finns någon lokalförening, varför inte starta en själv? Jag pratar med dig, Umeå. Hello all skeptics in Sweden. I'm sure you already know that the Swedish Skeptics Association not only is a big fan of the Skeptic Zone, but that we also organize lectures, pop science quiz and skeptics in the pub all over the country. Go to www.vof.se to see what our 7 local chapters are up to. And if you live in a place where there is no local chapter, why not start one yourself? I'm talking to you, Umeå.
Join us now for Drinking Skeptically in the Think Tank.
Someone's going to say MMXP.
I might have to say that too. I might have to say a lot of things. Jo Alabaster, and welcome to the mini think tank, and the first think tank we've had for quite a while. And your first think tank.
It is my first think tank.
You look impressed.
I'm thinking and I'm tanking.
Are you tanked? Why you think?
No.
No, it's too early in the morning. Somebody who doesn't care about what time it is Jason Brown. Hello.
Thanks, Richard. Yes. Yeah, it is early morning and I'm getting tanked. Brilliant.
Right. Cheers. Cheers. Good to see you in that. You have to put the glass down on the table, then I go, thank you, cheers. And it's good to see you here in our little mini think tank. We thought we'd have one to catch up on a few things that are happening.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while since we've had a little think tank. We are in our same club down the end of the street where we used to do the think tank. Virtually on the same table we used to do it. Hasn't changed much.
It used to be my local. We've all changed.
We have.
But yeah, this place hasn't changed as much as perhaps I would have expected.
Upstairs it's changed.
Upstairs is broken, but yeah.
It's all been completely rearranged to put in more poker machines. Did you notice that? And roulette or virtual roulette tables.
Yeah, it's like a James Bond film up there. It's amazing.
It is. They're all dressed in their dinner jackets and
all dressed as penguins, bow ties, the whole bit.
It's quite a club, folks. It's quite a club. Let's have a quick chat about the upcoming skeptical events in Australia. We'll talk about Skepticamp soon, because I know there's a Skepticamp coming in Sydney, which is very exciting, Jason. There is. But right now, let's have a quick mention about the upcoming National Convention. Jo Alabaster, that's very exciting. It's in Brisbane this year. And right off the bat, the website is convention.brisbaneskeptics.org. It's the National Convention MMXV, or for those people who don't understand Roman numerals, 2015. Are you excited, Jo?
I am super excited.
What can you tell us about it?
What can I tell you about it? They've got, their headlining talker is Nobel laureate Brian Schmidt.
That's exciting.
Which should be exciting,
yeah.
And local too, which is excellent. They've got Joe Nickel, they've got Susan Gerbeck from Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia. Yep. I'm really looking forward to meeting her, actually.
Oh, lovely lady, yeah.
And Miles Power, who is a YouTuber from the UK, who is excellent. I actually really enjoy his videos. So I'm looking forward to meeting him too and seeing him talk. We've got lots of local speakers. We've got, Lynn Kelly, John Cook, Katan Joshi is going to be there. Loretta Marin from Friends of Science in Medicine.
Oh, the Jelly Bean lady.
Yes.
Oh, she's great value, absolutely.
We've got Dr. Mel Thompson, who I've been chatting with on Twitter for quite a while. She's a microbiologist, and she does some fascinating presentations from what I can gather. I'm really looking forward to that.
The list goes on and on and on.
The list really does.
What's this about the parenting panel?
Yes, there's a Parenting Skeptically panel. That actually has me on it, which is a little bit
Ooh, and some more of our friends too. That's exciting.
It does. Alison Gaylard from Northern Rivers.
Yep.
And we've got Lauren Cochrane from Canberra Skeptics.
Excellent.
And also Dave Hawkes, who has been involved with Stop the AVN, doing a lot of media appearances.
Now, Ross from the Brisbane Skeptics has sent me a little note here saying that there'll be more announcements coming up on the 1st of May, so we'll stay tuned for that. And also this, he wants us to give a special mention of the Skeptical Fund, where people can donate half or full scholarship tickets. That sounds like a really great idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic way to let people who are unable to attend otherwise due to financial constraints to get them there. I think that's a really fantastic idea. So if you're purchasing a ticket for the convention, you're able to kick in a little bit extra to help somebody else get there too.
Ah, yes, good old Bris Vegas, they call it. Bris Vegas, the wonderland of the north. Why do they call it Bris Vegas? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea whatsoever, Richard.
I've never been able to figure that out.
Yeah, I call it Bris Vegas, and I'm not entirely sure why, but it's catchy.
Even President Obama, when he was here, he called it Bris Vegas, you know.
It's very bogan of him, I thought.
I thought so. Can't figure that one out, but that's very exciting. Again, just Google Australian Skeptics National Convention or convention.brisbaneskeptics.org. You'll find out all the details. Register soon. There's going to be as many Skeptic Zone people there as we can possibly squeeze in. Joe?
How many Skeptic Zone people can you squeeze into a convention?
That'll be the question of the convention, I think. That'll be the...
Well, we know how many holes you can... in the Albert Hall. Damn it.
They know how many holes it takes
to fill the Albert
Hall now, that's right. Now, Jason, of course, the exciting news coming up for us here in Sydney is, yet again, Skepticamp. What can you tell us about that?
It's back. And it's back. It's back on the 30th of May.
Yeah.
I nearly messed that up. Back on the 30th of May, back at the old venue in the UTS on Broadway in Sydney. The same format, the same lineups, I guess. It's going to be fun. We're going to do all manner of things.
Well, I love Skepticamp. I've been to a few of them actually around the world in my time. The Sydney one is a particular favourite. In fact, it was Skepticamp in Sydney last year or the year before, probably the year before, where I first met our reporter Heidi Robertson. She came down.
That's right. The NRVS girls came down for the last Skepticamp,
yes.
And it was a great laugh. It was
that was the last one. When was that?
It was, I believe, 2 years ago.
Really?
Almost.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's I'm really pleased. I mean, it's a great day. We're lots of people to meet and talk to. Lots of interesting talks, always.
Well, yeah, it's a networking event as much as anything else. I mean, anybody can turn up. Anybody can do a talk. The entire thing about Skepticamp is it's like a bar camp open conference model. You just rock up in the morning and you reserve yourself a slot and you just talk. It's fantastic.
Now, registration's available now, and the simplest thing is for people simply to Google Skepticamp Sydney, isn't it?
That's very much the easiest thing, yeah. There's a wiki at skepticampaustralia.org, but Google will get you there. It's not really reservation, it's pre-promotion of your talk, if you like.
Yeah.
You still have to turn up on the day and register a slot. But yeah, you can promote your talk straight up. You can start writing it now if you like.
And of course, the most important news, Jason, is that Skepticamp only costs $26 this year. Is that right?
No, Richard, that's not right, and it's never right. Skepticamps are always free, Richard.
Free. It's free. Come along, folks. It's free. Register, but it's free. Sounds good. And of course, one of the highlights of Skepticamp, I don't know if it's generally speaking Skepticamps around the world, but certainly here in Sydney is Cupcake Camp.
Cupcake Camp, yes.
Yeah, there were some beauties last time.
Oh, it's a fantastic one.
Ruth Ellison from the ACT brings some wonderful cupcakes.
She's very creative with her cupcakes, and Esther's always very creative with her cupcakes as well.
Makes wonderful cupcakes too.
So yeah, we do Cupcake Camp. Cupcake Camp. Oh, it's a difficult word.
Well, you're thinking about the cupcakes, you see.
That's right, I'm distracted by cupcake.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, we do that at lunchtime and bring some cupcakes along, enough for everyone to share if you can possibly manage that, and you might win something.
So there we are, folks. Skepticamp here in Sydney on the 30th of May. It's at the UTS building, which is, it's along the Broadway there, not too far from Central train station. You can go Google Skepticamp Australia, Skepticamp Sydney, find out some details. Turn up around about 9 o'clock on the day, and the talks kick off from about 10 o'clock.
And yeah, you'll need a ticket to get in because we need to control numbers, and that is...
Because of the hordes of people coming.
That's right, there are enormous numbers of people trying to squeeze in. Skepticamp Sydney 2015.eventbrite.com, but again, Google will get you there.
Yeah, just make sure you register so we know you're coming, so we're not overrun with cupcake fans or something like that.
We need to match the lunch numbers to the number of people who are turning up, otherwise no sandwiches for you.
Oh, well, that's it, folks. Make sure you register, make sure you let us know that you want to come along, and yes, by all means, if you have something to say along skeptical lines, we'd love to hear from you.
We've had some great talks in the past. We had the aerodynamics of a brick a couple of years ago.
The aerodynamics of a brick.
That was quite good. And then we had a talk on the non-existence of David Bowie. So, yes.
And I remember a couple of years ago, Maynard gave a talk there. So
Maynard did, yes.
Yeah. And Joe, you're looking forward to Skepticamp, I imagine?
I am, but I'm still quite shocked about the non-existence of David Bowie. I'm, very sad that I missed that.
Yes, we're very sad about the non-existence of David Bowie. Oh, I know you're partial to a few cupcakes, Joe.
Am I? I have to make some at the moment, actually. I've got to rush home after this and start baking cakes for my daughter's birthday.
Aww.
So I'll get some practice in, and I might bring some cupcakes to Skepticamp.
Do it.
Do it, yes.
Could do.
Little froggy ones or something like that.
I think I want to go for a bit of a skeptical theme, actually. I can't remember who it was, but a previous Skepticamp, I remember somebody making plans to make chiropractic-themed cupcakes with kind of smushed-up jelly babies, which was a little bit off, but very funny. Yeah.
I see. Also coming up in May, around the end of May, here in Sydney, is the good old Mind-Body Wallet. Jason, good old Mind-Body Wallet. Happens every 6 months. It's Woo Central. And you and I will be going, Joe.
Yep.
And we'll see if we can convince some other people to come along with us. This year, Jason, I'll have to tell you.
Oh, will you?
No, I will. And just between us.
All right.
This year, we're going to be taking a careful note of the outright shonks and scams and things. Because there's a lot there which is fun and innocent and harmless and good things to buy. But there are a lot of things there in years past that have really just been outrageously bad.
There's been some all manner of insanity, but I did notice on the way in, Richard, to our favourite club around the corner of the street, they're having some psychics on.
They are
in a couple of weeks.
Coming up, I think maybe in the next month or so, they've got some psychics here live on stage, and it makes me laugh because I always think, these people, they can talk to the dead. They can talk to the dead. They're not up there collecting their Nobel Prize in physics or something, right? Or they're not wowing the world of science. Where are they? They're in a local RSL club on stage.
Yeah.
It sums it up nicely, I think.
Yeah. Although some of them do occasionally make it to Vegas.
Sometimes.
The actual one, not Bris Vegas.
Not Bris Vegas. And for our listeners too, this club is dedicated. It's called RSL Return Services League. Yeah, it's our veterans club, right? It's dedicated to all the veterans of war. It's all the people who served.
Indeed, and it is Anzac weekend.
And it is too. Yeah. It's our one of our biggest national days. And it always also strikes me as a bit peculiar that a club like this would have people on stage who talk to the dead. And I always think, well, are they going to talk to dead soldiers?
That would be
bad taste.
That would be terribly bad taste.
But
I can feel a comedy routine coming on, but I should really steer away from it.
But the point is, of course, yes, of course it would be. Of course they wouldn't. So what do? They talk to other dead people,
Dead people with really not very stunning stories. Just,
not too much to say.
The money's behind the wardrobe. Is it? Oh, we threw the wardrobe out years ago, Grandad. It wasn't there.
So I remember a great cartoon was of the Wizard of It or something like that. I've made contact with your dead great uncle. Really? Great uncle, how are you? And the voice comes back, I'm dead.
Well, that's accurate.
So your loved one says she's okay.
Well, more accurate than most, yeah.
Oh dear, so that's craziness. Yes, instead of collecting their Nobel Prize, people who claim they can talk to dead people are in local clubs giving entertainment, so to speak, from the stage. Now let's talk about, Joe, something else. The name Mel Gibson. Not Mel Gibson.
Not Mel Gibson. He's a completely different kettle of fish.
Completely different.
Oh, well, there's a bit of strangeness about Mel Gibson too, I believe.
There is a bit,
Mel Gibson, yes.
Tell us about Mel Gibson.
She's a wellness blogger. She's
Well.
Well, indeed.
Yes.
Wellness is such a strangely ill-defined term.
Wellness is an ill-defined term. You heard it from Jo Alabaster. I like that. That's a meme. Wellness is an ill-defined term.
Oh, good. We can actually get a photograph of me looking serious and put the caption up and tweet it everywhere.
We will.
And I shall gain my fame finally. Wellness blogger.
Wellness.
She's also had an app. She claims she fell ill a few years ago. She's and then cured her inoperable brain cancer by eating well, etc., etc. She's been blogging. She has a lot of followers. She released an app. I think it was about diet and nutrition advice. She doesn't have, as far as I'm aware, any education in the field of
She was the darling
dietetics.
She was the darling of the media, wasn't she? She was on all sorts of things.
She was for quite a while, yeah. She actually won an award, from a prominent women's magazine. And
it's a familiar story, isn't it?
It is, rather.
Who else do we know that's done this career trajectory? Oh, yeah, that's right, Jess Ainscough.
Yeah, very similar.
Although there is a difference.
Oh, there is indeed. There's a very big difference. Basically, recently, it came to question as to whether she'd actually been ill. Because her stories to the media had been a little bit muddled and confusing.
And she looked so bloody healthy.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily indicative of too much.
Not necessarily, but
Jess Ainscough always looked absolutely lovely too. But, yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately for her, the media began questioning her story and realised that nobody had actually confirmed any sort of diagnosis, and her claims about her diagnosis were changing.
Yeah.
In the past week, she's spoken to Australian Women's Weekly and has outright come out and said, no, she did not have cancer. This is a woman who's given a lot of advice to people who presumably are quite unwell and trying to treat their cancer through nutrition.
Naturally, so-called.
Yeah. Wellness, etc.
Yes, heal for wellness. So she's
given advice. She's taken quite a lot of money, a sizable amount. Some of it she promised to donate to charity, which it's been revealed through Women's Weekly that she hasn't done either. So, it's come to light that she wasn't actually sick to begin with. And Women's Weekly, their conjecture is that she's suffering from Munchausen syndrome. So that's not an official diagnosis either. We can't really say that she is, but she has admitted to lying.
And one of the sad things is, of course, there are many people out there who would have been inspired by her and possibly gone down this so-called wellness path instead of sticking to their conventional medicine.
Well, yeah, wellness is a big red flag for all of us in the skeptical world, but out in mundane, ordinary world where the muggles live, they think it's a really positive word.
Yeah,
and it's just
a
not.
red flag for us.
It's polluted horribly for us.
Well, it's a meaningless word, I think.
It's daft. I mean, but chiropractors are all about the wellness thing, and homeopaths are all about the wellness thing, and it's daft. But she's made quite a lot of money out of this, and I think to diagnose her with Munchausen syndrome is to let her off the hook somewhat.
Possibly.
Yeah.
She might.
There has been some sympathy in the media and also from her supporters. Those who now have to, unlike with Jess, Bell's supporters are now faced with her outright saying, no, she didn't have cancer. So I imagine they're struggling a little bit with what they've found out.
That's a very sad story. People can Google that, look that up. In fact, the TV show Media Watch only a couple of weeks ago featured her. In the angle they were using is the media were very uncritical. They just accepted on face value what she said, and they had her on the TV shows and the newspapers and everything.
Well,
which is a good point.
It's a failure of media fact checking. It happens a lot. But hopefully, with Jess Ainscough and Belle Gibson, maybe they'll pick up their game. Maybe they won't. There's not a lot of money going into media these days. They're firing sub-editors, they're firing fact-checkers. The photographers are all gone now, it's all outsourced. There's not a lot of money in it, really, so I don't know how it's going to get any better.
I fear you're right. There are a lot of people losing their jobs at the moment. Well, let's now talk, Jo, about another issue you have been looking at lately, over the past few weeks, I think. And this relates back to a big story that was in Australia, 2-3 months ago, about the cancelled Sherry Tenpenny tour.
Yes, the woman responsible for bringing Sherry Tenpenny, or attempting to bring Sherry Tenpenny out to Australia, was Stephanie Messenger. Now, Stephanie Messenger is also known for having written the book Melanie's Marvellous Measles, which I've spoken about a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'll run a boo sound effect. Ready? Here we go.
Yes, Stephanie Messenger runs... this is a really difficult story to actually... I was going to compile a report on this, but I kept going so far down the rabbit hole. There's so much about Stephanie Messenger, and I really recommend people go to Diluted Thinking blog, which details a great deal more than I can present on here. But she has several charities and organisations set up under various names. One of them is the Get Rid of SIDS Project.
Ah, yes.
And the Get Rid of SIDS Project a couple of weeks ago was on the news as the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission are having a crackdown at the moment on rogue charities. And the first one they've gone public with has been Stephanie Messenger's Get Rid of SIDS Project. Now, the reason they've actually revoked her charity status for the Get Rid of SIDS Project, and they haven't been able to, due to privacy reasons, state too much about why they've done it, apart from that she's double defaulted on handing in her records, financial records, etc. But the reports in the news that have been about this have actually outlined what it is that the Get Rid of SIDS Project was doing and responsible for. And also her past history, I've found out the claims that she was making under the Get Rid of SIDS Project are completely unsubstantiated. Basically, she was giving talks, etc., to, I guess, new parents were her main audience, claiming that sudden infant death syndrome was being caused by toxic gases released from cot mattresses.
And wasn't she selling a mattress to stop this?
I believe she was selling a few different products.
How convenient.
Indeed. And when she was giving these presentations, she was generally doing it in a format that also included some anti-vaccination information. Her current claim, or the claim over the past couple of years, hasn't been that SIDS is caused by vaccination, but that claim has been made in the past.
But it certainly has. Merrill would have made that claim.
Yeah.
Amongst others.
In a rather tasteless way, I believe. I can't remember the exact phrase that was being used, but it was unpleasant.
Well, tasteless and Merrill Dory sort of go hand in hand, I think.
Well, yeah. She's also got a foundation called the Gankin Man Foundation, which is, Gandhi, Martin Luther King and Mandela.
Yes.
And the Mandela Trust have questioned this and are looking into legal proceedings about it, I believe.
Yes, they are.
So yeah, she's pretty dodgy. She's Merrill Dory that doesn't knit, I think. Yeah.
So what's the upshot of all this, Jo? I mean, well, they've been deregistered, eh?
Yeah. She's unable to take any charitable contributions via the Get Rid of SIDS Foundation, project. Though, I mean, she's got many, many different organisations set up under hers and her partner's name, so and she's still selling her books, of course. Annoyingly, I haven't been able to find any official statement about the closure of the project from Stephanie herself. She's very hard to get in touch with. She hasn't made a statement as far as I'm aware, but after a couple of days, her website did go down for that particular project, so there's no information.
It just never ends, the interesting news in the skeptical world. And talking about, here's a segue, the skeptical world, if we look at a world point of view, there's some interesting news coming out of Russia. And there's some people I need to thank about this news, and I'll get Jo to read out the names.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we practiced this before.
This will be good.
My little documentary, The Vaccination Chronicles, not only is there a Swedish DVD being produced and being distributed in Sweden, which is fantastic. The other day, up on my feed, I think my Facebook feed, popped my name for some reason. I had a look. And a group in Russia, the Brights, actually, they're called the Brights, have dubbed the documentary into Russian. And it's been getting, the last look, it's had over 1,000 hits in only a couple of days. I don't know what it'll be by the time this podcast comes out. But I'll play a little bit of yours truly speaking sort of in Russian. Hello.
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Ричард Сондерс. Добро пожаловать в хроники вакцинации. В этом видео я хочу рассказать вам о времени в нашей истории, когда родители жили в страхе, что в любое время их дети могут подвергнуться риску заражения смертельной болезнью. Я бы хотел рассказать вам, как это было, но у меня не выйдет, потому что меня там не было. Я родился уже после широкого распространения вакцинации для таких болезней, как дифтерия, краснуха, туберкулез и детский паралич, полиомиелит.
Da, how about that, Jo Alabaster? Now, Jo, I've been sent a list of names, and I'd like to thank people who have been involved in this project, who did the voices and whatever, who were at least involved. Could you read out some of those names for the benefit of our listeners, please? You're very good at this.
I can try, but I sincerely apologize to our Russian listeners and everybody, in fact, because, my goodness, I'll admit I could read these last night, but I had a couple of cocktails. So...
Here we go. We want to thank these people.
Okay. It was dubbed by Natalia Alenikov, Arkady Babev, Alexander Polikarpov, Jess Alexander. The formatting was by Pauline Basovich, and assembling was from Ilya Tikhnov, and the translation was from Svetlana Bavkina.
Oh, well done, Jo. Fantastic.
I wouldn't mind some feedback, actually. I don't know if you can say that was very good.
I think that they appreciate it, and I appreciate it. And I certainly appreciate the fact that those people in Russia, without any prompting from me, this is a complete surprise to me, did that and dubbed the documentary into Russian. It's a good thing.
Excellent. Yeah. This is the power of the internet, is it?
Yeah.
Excellent. I love the internet.
Power of the internet. The power of the internet. It's really very, very gratifying, and I'm very pleased about it. Another thing that happened in the past week was, I don't know if you saw this, Jason, I was on The Project on TV.
Were you?
Yeah.
I think that might have passed me by, Richard.
Well, and for all those people who didn't see it, this is a 5-minute segment that ran on The Project, which Dr. H appears on from time to time, and the whole segment was about exorcism.
Oh, I see.
And here I will play...
Around the story that the Catholic Church have bumped up their exorcist count.
So I'll play now my contribution in a 5-minute segment. This is my contribution in full. Ready? Here we go.
People have suffocated, people have been beaten to death. There's really no scientific underpinning for the notion of exorcism. It sadly boils down to myth and superstition. Exorcism is based in superstition from our past. It's mythology. It's got no place in the modern world.
That's it. Now, I said a lot more when we recorded, but those are the tiny little clips they used. Most of the story was given over to a psychic who performed exorcisms and a priest who said that ultimately that it could be demonic possession. So there you go.
Well, obviously, demonic possession is the obvious go-to, isn't it? Couldn't be anything else.
Couldn't be psychological problems where people should seek proper help. No.
No.
It's little demons with their pitchforks.
Definitely.
Poke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny ones.
Little.
They'd have to be quite small to fit inside.
They would.
Yeah.
They exit through the mouth, don't they? I believe.
It depends on what you've been eating the night before. Oh, dearie me. Oh, now, just on a personal note, and I think you are aware of this, that I'm having an exhibition of my photography next month at Cafe 2042, or Cafe in Delhi, I think it's called, 2042, in King Street, Newtown. So I'm looking forward to that. It's quite an interesting thing. I've been doing origami for years, as listeners know. I invented origami Pegasus, and a lot of people have my origami earrings, which is quite fun and pleasing. But if you're in Sydney and you know the Cafe 2042 in King Street, Newtown, from the 11th of next month, you can see my exhibition. I hope you'll come along.
Make your way through the crowds of hipsters, push them all out of the way and have a bit of a look. Yeah.
Have a bit of a look. Well, it's been great to be back in the think tank, to have our little mini think tank once again. We'll have to do this more often. We might set up the think tank all over again.
It's like a blast from the past.
It is a little bit. It's good to be back in our pub down the end of the street. And Jo Alabaster and Jason Brown, I'd like to thank you very much. And until the next mini think tank or full-blown think tank, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
I'm just hitting a glass with a pen, folks. We don't have
It's very early in the morning.
Jeg er Marit.
Og jeg er Kristin. Og vi vil tipse deg som norsk lytter av The Skeptic Zone om skeptikermiljøet i Norge.
Det finnes norske blogger og pubtreff og podcast, og foreningen Skepsis driver med ulike former for aktivisme.
Sentralt er skepsis.no, og her publiseres det dyptpløyende artikler, en kalender over skeptiske aktiviteter og lenker til andre skeptiske ressurser.
Skepsisbloggen oppdateres jevnlig, og det diskuteres heftig på Skepsisforumet, så stikk innom og delta du også.
Skepsis.no.
Hello, I'm Marit.
And I'm Kristin, and we want to let you know that there are lots of Norwegian skeptics for you to get to know.
There are blogs and pub meets and a podcast, and the Norwegian skeptics also do paranormal tests and consumer activism.
To find out more, Google Norwegian skeptics or visit skepsis.no.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. I can't wait for Skepticamp here in Sydney. Can't wait for the National Convention later in the year in Brisbane. Now, as mentioned at the top of the show, we have a book giveaway. Question Everything, 132 science questions and their unexpected answers. And opening the book at random, what's this? If the sun is a star, just like the other stars, why does it appear yellow rather than white? And the answer is in the book. Question Everything, the book giveaway. To enter this competition, head to our Facebook page, Skeptic Zone on Facebook. You'll see the link there for the competition. And in the comments, in 50 words or fewer, tell us your science question that you would like answered. And who knows, maybe somebody will even answer it on the spot for you, one of our listeners and Facebook friends. So put your science question, 50 words or fewer, in the comment section on the Facebook page of the Skeptic Zone, and we'll have a little look at those later on in the week, and we'll award that book, and we'll post it anywhere in the world, depending on where the winning entry comes from. Don't forget to check out Maynard's website, maynard.com.au, for his podcast, Bunga Bunga, and other things that he's involved with. He's all actually Maynard is one of the best voiceover men I know in the biz. Actually, Maynard. If you need a voiceover man anywhere in the world, if you need someone to do a voiceover, check out maynard.com.au. Get in touch with Maynard. He's the guy for you. He's really good at it. Actually, I think Jo Alabaster has a good voiceover voice too. Come to think of it, I think I've got a very talented group of people helping me out on the Skeptic Zone. But for this week. This is Richard Saunders looking for Fred the cat, who's sleeping downstairs on the couch, I think, signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.